Is India helping minorities or marginalising Muslims? The government gets one step closer to passing a law aimed at protecting those who fled persecution. But by excluding one particular faith, is the legislation unconstitutional? I'm Imran Garda, and today's newsmaker is India's controversial Citizenship Amendment Bill. If you're a member of a persecuted religious minority from one of India's neighbouring countries, the government wants to rescue you. If you're a Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Parsi or Jain, the ruling party wants to offer you refuge by giving you Indian citizenship. But if you happen to be Muslim, well, you're on your own. Lawmakers in the lower house of parliament have voted overwhelmingly in favour of a bill to amend India's citizenship law. If the upper house follows suit, then those who've escaped mistreatment and entered India illegally will be granted amnesty. The BJP says it's just protecting the persecuted. But by excluding Muslims, is it not guilty of persecution? We'll debate that in a moment. But first, Adam Pletz has this report.
India's governing Bharatiya Janata Party wants to change the citizenship law, sparking protests in the ethnically diverse northeastern states. The Citizenship Amendment Bill would grant non-Muslims from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan an accelerated route to Indian nationality. Critics say the draft legislation violates India's secular constitution.
In India, the citizenship cannot be decided on the basis of religion. So Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016 is a communal bill, it's an unconstitutional bill, and we are rejecting it. And it's a threat to the identity of the people of indigenous people of Assam and northeastern region.
Prioritising citizenship for Hindus, Jains, Sikhs and other non-Muslims was part of Narendra Modi's May election manifesto, which handed the BJP a landslide victory. Muslims and other minority groups fear the BJP is trying to create a Hindu state. At the same time as offering citizenship to non-Muslims, the government is classifying many Muslims as illegal immigrants. The BJP is introducing a national register of citizens. It says those who can't prove their ancestors lived in India prior to 1971 will be deported before the next election. A trial run in the northeastern state of Assam left nearly 2 out of 33 million people unregistered, both Hindus and Muslims.
I am Indian. How can they force me to leave the country? I was born in Assam. How can they call me Bangladeshi? I'm shocked at this. I still don't understand. What is this law?
If approved by the upper house of parliament, the Citizenship Amendment Bill would protect non-Muslims from deportation, but not Muslims, who account for about 14% of India's population. The government views the trial in Assam as a success.
Our biggest achievement is that within Assam, we implement the National Registry of Citizens and identify these infiltrators.
And when immigrants become infiltrators, it's perhaps no surprise that Muslims are increasingly feeling unwelcome in Modi's India. Adam Pletz, The Newsmakers.
Well, to debate the bill, I'm joined now by senior BJP official Sudhanshu Mittal, and from the opposition Indian National Congress Party, we have Salman Anees Soz. Gentlemen, good to have you both on the program. Salman Soz, let's begin with you. Does this violate the Constitution?
Yes. Absolutely does. I think this has been part of BJP's political agenda, this othering of Muslims. You know, today it's Muslims, tomorrow it'll be Christian, day after it'll be somebody else. So I think this is part of a broader plan, part of a long-term plan, but it violates Article 14 of the Constitution. It basically violates the central ethos of India, which is that India is a secular, pluralistic country. It does not have any religious test for anyone. The Constitution, in fact, has no religious test. Forget citizens, not even for non-citizens. If they're refugees, India welcomes all without any religious test. What the BJP is trying to do is say, if you are a persecuted non-Muslim minority in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, then you're welcome in India. You'll become citizens. And if you're anybody else, because remember, there are persecuted minorities within Muslims also. In Pakistan, for example, the Ahmadiyas are persecuted. Even the Shias face trouble. So I think there is, and by the way, what about Myanmar? It's a neighboring country. What about Sri Lanka? It's a neighboring country. It has minorities.
Okay, so we've got the gist of it,
what about them?
Okay, so we've got the opposition there. Sudhanshu, this is a religion-based law, and you're telling people you only qualify as being persecuted if you're not Muslim. Doesn't seem very fair, does it?
I'm most appalled by what Mr. Soz has to say or what the commentary shows. One factor which has been very conveniently glossed over is the fact that all these three countries, be it Bangladesh, be it Pakistan and Afghanistan, they're not secular states. These are theocratic Muslim states, Islamic states, and they have persecuted minorities. Now, I'll just give you one statistics, which should give some sense to Mr. Soz before he makes such wild statements. In 1951, when the census took place in East Pakistan, which was earlier, Bangladesh's earlier avatar, India, the Hindu population there was 22.8%. Today, it stands at 8.3%. What has happened to the minorities? Where have the Hindus gone? They were persecuted, and thus they took shelter. And mind it, it is not just for Hindus. Mr. Soz has been accusing us of being anti-Christian, but this bill provides protection to the Christian minorities in Islamic State of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. So a theocratic Islamic state where it persecutes Muslim minorities on the basis of religion, that is when on the humanitarian ground, India gives them protection. And I think it should be lauded. It is laudable, because you are not condemning the persecution by an Islamic state of minorities.
Okay.
I have given you the statistics and I challenge you on that.
To the point, Mr. Mittal.
22.8% to 8.4%.
To the point,
Where have the people gone?
To the point, Mr. Mittal, what about Rohingya Muslims from Myanmar? Why not allow them in?
Yeah, Myanmar is not an Islamic state. Please understand.
Exactly.
Myanmar is not a Islamic state.
So your point is you are only against
Islamic state.
Okay, so you're only against oppression if
state.
Muslim countries are doing it. There, you've just said it.
No,
you've just said it. You said Myanmar is not an Islamic state.
Can I finish?
The UN says they're doing
Please
genocide against the Rohingya, sir. You're saying they're not an Islamic state. So states can only persecute if they're Islamic states.
A theocratic state. Please understand, a theocratic state and a secular state, they're different. We are talking about a theocratic state.
So you can be a military dictatorship conducting genocide, but that's okay as long as they're not Islamic and not deemed theocratic by you, sir.
As long as it's not a theocratic state.
Okay, got it. No, got it. It's good to get clarity from you. Salman Soz, come in.
You know, I'm constantly amazed by how incompetent BJP leaders are, and I'm sorry to say that Mr. Mittal himself, he's a senior member, and he should not be coming on international TV and betraying his, lack of full knowledge. Bangladesh is a secular country, sir. It is not a theocratic state. I mean, you should look up.
Sir, please read the constitution. They have amended it. Mr. Soz, don't be ignorant. You're making a fool of yourself on television.
Please listen to me.
They have constituted, they have amended the constitution to become an Islamic state.
I did not interrupt
you. Please
go
ahead.
I did not. The basic fact is the following. If there's persecution anywhere in the world, international norms do not say, we will help you if you're persecuted in this environment, but we will not help you if you're persecuted in this environment. Because one persecution is better than another persecution.
Salman, can you accept, okay, but hold on for a second. Salman, can you accept that even though you might doubt the government's intentions, even though you might feel that the exclusion of Muslims is a big whopper and says a lot, the mere fact that the government still wants to give protection to people who are persecuted, whether they are Christians who have come from Pakistan, for example, should be lauded in and of itself because it will definitely benefit those particular people?
First of all, of course, we should welcome refugees. Where whoever is persecuted, we should welcome them. And that has been happening throughout this country's history. This is not the first time, if people are in this country, and there are many millions of them maybe, who are in the country who are persecuted elsewhere, and they have sought refuge in India, and they have been accommodated. It is not as the BJP is suddenly waking up to a new reality. The new reality is that the BJP is no different. Its policies are no different from the policies of Nazi Germany, of South Africa's apartheid regime, of the Myanmar kind of dictatorship. They're all the same. This is unfortunately what the world is now seeing, is that Mahatma Gandhi's India has become this kind of fascist state where religious tests are going to be held. And by the way, in Assam, the state of Assam, where a national register of citizens was compiled, you should see the terrible, the travesty of, that process.
Okay, so let me ask Mr. Mittal about this. Okay, so Salman, let me, right, let me ask.
Have been declared a state. So, what kind of madness is this?
Right, so Mr. Mittal, at the same time that your minorities themselves within the borders of India are fighting for their own civil rights, at the same time that 2 million people in Assam have been stripped of their citizenship, you say you're reaching out to persecuted people and giving them citizenship. Won't people be looking at this from the outside and say, give us a break, who are you trying to fool?
I mean, if you do not understand the basics, then it saddens me.
Tell me.
First, Mr. Soz, please go back. Yeah, I'm going back. Please go back and read the Constitution of Bangladesh. It is an Islamic state. And when you say it is a secular state, you are only displaying your ignorance. I'm sorry. As far as your government's accommodating these minorities persecuted, 6 have been in this country for the last 30 years from Afghanistan, and you did not give citizenship even to one Sikh. You know this? If you do not know, please don't make a statement. Now, you said when 2 million people, in these 2 million people in Assam, how many of them are Muslims? If you do, I mean, that's why I said I was sickened by the allegation and the insinuation. Can I please, can I finish? I know my statistics better than all of you. Only 0.8 million, 1.2 million are non-Muslims. These are people, they do not have papers, so they have been not given citizenship, which is right. Which country in this world wants people who are illegally entering the country to get citizenship? They don't. So that has been in Assam. Every country has a right to identify its citizen and isolate those who are not its citizen. Now, people coming in a country for economic reasons are different than people coming into a country because they are religiously persecuted in a neighboring state. If Mr. Soz and his party does not understand the difference, so be it. That's the reason why they are in a pathetic state as far as people's confidence is concerned.
So Sudhanshu, let me give you the example then of Ahmadis who consider themselves Muslim, but many in Pakistan do not. Would you want to maybe exclude them as well, as is currently the case? Many of them are persecuted within Pakistan. Why not include them?
Well, A, it is an Islamic state and Ahmadiyas are Muslims. B, people have come in here, they are not being thrown back. But we are talking about citizenship to people who are in the country, who have come to this country out of religious persecution. I said 22.8 and 8.4. Can you imagine that 14% of Hindu population of Bangladesh had to flee the country and come to India and seek refuge because they were persecuted? Not a tear is shed by Mr. Soz and all of you. You are not saying why should Bangladesh, a theocratic Islamic state, persecute the minorities. You are not shedding a tear for them. But you are questioning if they are given shelter in India.
Sir, Bangladesh is not implementing a law in December 2019. We're talking about history that involves the creation of Bangladesh, which is something completely different.
I'm not talking about history. I am talking about the persecution which is going on today also. Every single day you have Hindus, you have Christians, you have Parsis, you have Sikhs coming from these countries to India because they are discriminated on the grounds of religion.
I'm looking forward to the day when I can have you with a Bangladeshi representative, because you keep on making the claim that they are a theological state.
I'm willing to challenge anybody on that.
Salman Soz, come in.
I am willing to challenge anybody on that.
Certainly. Salman Soz, come in.
Mr. Mittal, the Bangladesh Supreme Court in 2010 it basically said that secularism is a basic tenet of Bangladesh. Okay? Secularism remains fundamental to Bangladesh. So please don't come out and tell the world that something that Bangladesh is a theocratic state. Number one. Number two, in Assam,
Sir,
in
it is still
Assam,
a part of
in
their
Assam,
constitution. Please go and read the constitution.
Can we
listen
get
to
over
me,
Bangladesh
Mr.
for a
Mittal.
second? Yes. Okay.
Please listen to me.
Yes.
In Assam, after going through a crazy process and hundreds of millions of dollars spent, and so much pain for people, poor people, weak people who are voiceless. Now the same party that Mr. Mittal belongs to does not want that particular process to be, they don't want it to be ratified. What they want is the Citizenship Amendment Bill, so that those people, non-Muslims, who were excluded from the Assam process will become citizens. And what happens to those people who are Muslims in Assam who were exempted from citizenship? What happens to those people? Are they going to deport them to some other country? Because Prime Minister Modi told the government of Bangladesh that we're not going to deport those people. What are you going to do to them? Are you going to make?
Let me tell you.
Are you going to burn them down?
Yeah,
What are
let
you
me
going to do
answer.
to
Okay,
them?
let's
Let
give
me answer.
Mr. Mittal a chance to
Let me answer.
respond to that. Okay, Salman.
Mr.
ahead.
Soz, you are the biggest hypocrite. Do you know your own
yes.
Chief Minister, Mr. Tarun Gogoi, welcomed it? The man who ruled Assam for 15 years, he was the first one who welcomed it. So if you do not know your own party, if you do not know your own leaders, I pity you. Secondly, let me finish. Now you've talked, let me finish. Out of the 2 million people, only 0.8 are Muslims.
Okay.
We have said we are
But again,
identifying
you're
and
saying
isolating people who are
only
not...
45%. You're saying
Can
only
I finish?
45% are Muslim.
We are saying...
You're saying only 45% are Muslim in a country where
45%.
Muslims are about 15%
Yes.
of the population. That's a big chunk of Muslims, isn't it, sir?
But these are the Bangladeshi Muslims who have come illegally to Bangladesh.
Okay, that's
to
one.
Assam.
Okay, that's
And they
one
have
thing
been
you share with
isolated.
the
They have been
Myanmar government.
identified.
Okay, that's one thing you share with the Myanmar government because they also refer to the Rohingya as just Bangladeshis and not citizens of their own country. Listen, gentlemen, I've got to move on, but just for housekeeping, just for clarity here with all of our audience as well, this is not signed and sealed. The BJP has a majority in the lower house where it passed. It still has to pass in the upper house where it does not have a majority.
Myanmar is not a theocratic state. Please understand this.
And
Myanmar is not a theocratic state. So do not equate a
You've been-
Bangladesh or a Pakistan
Sir,
or an Afghanistan.
Mr.
with
Mittal,
Myanmar
you've
or
defended
Sri Lanka.
Myanmar more than you've
You
defended
are
India during this
confusing the
discussion,
issue
which
and
is
do not
curious.
do that.
Okay, Mr.
Do not
Mittal,
do
you've
that.
defended
And what
Myanmar
is in
far
internal
more than
matters,
you've
internal
actually.
matter.
You've done a better job defending Myanmar than you
It
have
is, no, that is
the BJP.
the
Anyway, I've got to move on.
The
Listen,
biggest cleansing
Mr.
of
Mittal.
ethnic minorities has taken
Mr.
place
Mittal.
in Bangladesh and Pakistan.
You've been the
And that is
best
the reason.
spokesman for the
And they
Myanmar
have
military
constituted
that we've had
22%.
on this program. Okay, I've got to move on. But listen, it hasn't passed in the upper house. We look forward to seeing what's going to happen. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Salman Soz and Sudhanshu Mittal. Our next guest is one of India's most prominent journalists. Rana Ayyub has reported on everything from religious violence to extrajudicial killings. Her book, Gujarat Files, Anatomy of a Cover-Up, exposed Narendra Modi's role in the 2002 Gujarat riots that saw an estimated 1,000 Muslims killed. Now, while many have celebrated her work, she's also faced a lot of criticism, especially after her recent profile in the New Yorker magazine. And Rana Ayyub joins us now from Mumbai. Rana, good to have you on the program. Your profile in the New Yorker covers a lot of ground, right? There's Ayodhya, there's military crackdown and clampdown, and the scrapping of autonomy in Kashmir. We have crime and punishment in Gujarat. We have the Gujarat riots. We have the personality of Narendra Modi. And all of this seems to sort of converge on a singularity or a single theme. It's Modi's India and the direction things are going in. After hearing the conversation of the preceding 15 minutes, do you also put that in the same basket?
Hi, Imran. Great to be on the show. I was listening with great amusement, the two gentlemen who were on the show, especially the BJP spokesperson and his arguments on citizenship. And that's essentially what's happening in India right now. The brazen communalization and the attack on the Indian constitution. Because, I mean, just 3 days ago, Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, hailed Baba Saheb Ambedkar, who wrote the Indian constitution. And the Indian constitution also essentially says that nobody in India can be discriminated on the basis of religion, caste, gender, sex. Today, what's happening in India is a culmination of Narendra Modi's majoritarian politics, which he has been practicing since he was the provincial minister of Gujarat, where the Gujarat genocide of 1,000 Muslims took place under his watch. There were extrajudicial murder of Muslims. From that time to this day, today when the Citizenship Amendment Bill was passed in the Indian Parliament, Mr. Modi is going from strength to strength. He has become a leader of anti-Muslim bigots across the country, and that's what he aspired to be. He has never minced his words really on whose leader he essentially wants to be. When his Interior Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, who tabled the bill in the Indian Parliament today, has gone behind bars in the past for extrajudicial murder of Muslims, for fake encounter of Muslims. Mr. Shah has famously called migrants as termites who need to be thrown in the Bay of Bengal. Mr. Modi has endorsed that viewpoint. So this is the world's largest democracy, and Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah are leading India to a point of no return.
Yeah,
and that's essentially the
right.
yeah.
I would highly recommend people read the piece in the New Yorker by Dexter Filkins, because Amit Shah is heavily featured in the top half of the piece. He's the Minister of Home Affairs. As you mentioned, he was in your crosshairs, or in the crosshairs of your investigative journalism, in the crosshairs of the authorities because of extrajudicial killings, especially that of Sohrabuddin Sheikh, a controversial case. He said regarding this bill, why do we need this bill today? After independence, if Congress had not done partition on the basis of religion, then today we would not have needed this bill. Congress did partition on the basis of religion. What's interesting for me is that to him it seems, well, way back when Pakistan was created for Muslims, well, it's their fault then. We're just creating India for Hindus. Is that as clear of an example as you're going to get of the kind of ideology behind his thinking?
Absolutely, Imran. I mean, today, Mr. Amit Shah has, ever since they have come to power since 2014, they have been stoking this majority victimhood, wherein Mr. Shah and Modi have made 82% of Indians feel victims in their own country. And there's been a resentment since the partition of India, where Hindus believe that, Muslims have been given a piece of land in Pakistan, so they should not demand equal share of rights in democratic India. And that's something that the right wing has espoused, and that's something that is the fundamental of the Indian right wing, which is from the RSS and Mr. Modi and Shah, who claim allegiance to the RSS. So today what they did in the Indian Parliament was basically cater to the victimhood of the Indian majority, saying you have the first right to all the resources in the country, and Muslims will essentially be second-class citizens. Not just the Citizenship Amendment Bill, but also look at the National Register of Citizens, which you want to implement across the country, wherein already millions of people in the northeastern states of India have been dismissed because they did not have the necessary documents, or despite the fact that they have been staying in India for the last 6 decades. But you look at the Ayodhya judgment, the way it is being celebrated. Every decision, now the government wants to bring in the Uniform Civil Code. Every decision that this government has been taking, every bill that the government wants to pass in the Indian Parliament is anti-Muslim in essence and spirit. So you are basically telling the Indian Hindus and the larger majority population that we promised to come to power, telling you that this is going to be your country, and today we have given you your country. Pakistan was a Muslim country and India is a Hindu country. This is not what it was. Gandhi and Nehru envisaged India as a democracy, as a secular democracy. Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah are today making India as a Hindu Rashtra, as envisaged by the Indian right wing.
Rana, how do you deal with the hate? I just reached out to you on Twitter after reading the profile in the New Yorker saying you want to come onto the show, and I got a taste of the world of hate that you deal with. A lot of threats of violence, a lot of complaints that I'm a terrorist, a lot of sexually frustrated men making rape threats and all sorts of insinuations. How do you deal with it? Does it get you down?
Not at all. In fact, it confirms or validates, my apprehension, and that the fact that, one, how dare a woman speak out? How dare a Muslim woman speak up or speak out against the Modi dispensation? In fact, most of the times these trolls humor me because there is absolutely no rationale in their trolling. It also, the kind of trolling that I receive and the kind of hate that I receive is kind of it basically reflects on the fact that my work is hurting them where it should hurt. and that they really are worried about my reports, and they really do read my reports. So basically, their hatred is coming from a place of actually validating my work. So I mean, I know some days it can be really daunting, especially the rape and death threats for which the United Nations Special Rapporteurs wrote to the Indian government to protect my safety. Of course, the Indian government did not react to it, but this is like a part of daily life for me. This is the path that I've chosen for me, and the work that I do will have consequences. This is the consequence of the work that I'm doing, and I'm willing to live with it.
Rana Ayyub, great pleasure having you on the Newsmakers. I wish you all the best and looking forward to having you back on the program very soon. Thanks so much. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.